So for this video, I'm going to be doing an impromptu book haul. Yes, I have a ton of books to unhaul. Me and Stacy do. Well, most of these books are mine, but I do have a couple of hers that we're going to unhaul. Mainly because we're going to turn these books in tomorrow at 2nd and Charles for store credit. And me and Stacy on New Year's Day are going to go book shopping at Barnes & Noble and 2nd and Charles. I'm honestly a little surprised that they're both open on New Year's Day, but we're going to make a fun afternoon, evening out of it, and it should be a lot of fun. But for this video, I'm going to show you all of the books that I'm going to unhaul and hopefully get a bunch of store credit for. So, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So first off, I'll mention a couple of books that Stacy is going to unhaul. Well, actually, one of these is technically ours. We've both read it, but the first one is Amari and the Night Brothers. This is like a middle grade fantasy book that I don't really have any interest in. I believe she read it, but I think her opinion was that it's been done and it's been done better. It's supposed to be like a fantasy school, magic, that kind of deal. I think she liked it, but didn't love it. So I don't really have any interest. So we're going to unhaul that. Also, the book that I'm talking about that we've both read, or I read and she DNF'd, is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. I really like this book, but I'll be honest, I don't know if it's going to be one that I go back and reread a lot. I gave it 4.5 stars, really liked it, but probably time to unhaul it, and she DNF'd it, so she's obviously not going to want it. And then the reverse, a book that I DNF'd, and then a book that she just finished, was Babel by R.F. Kuang, or Babel, however you want to say it. I DNF'd this book pretty quickly. I just didn't care about... Once we got... It was interesting the first few chapters, but then we got to the school. It just really... I just tapped out. I didn't care. She, plowed right through it, gave it 3 stars. She didn't really love it. It's a hardcover anyway, so we're just going to unhaul it. All right, and I believe most of these books... I'll show you the... Got a full bag here of unhaul, so get a snack, get a cup of tea or whatever, because I got a lot of books to talk about. So the first one is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulik. Again, I really did enjoy this book, gave it 4.5 stars, but will I ever go back and reread this one? Probably not. I wouldn't really consider this like a new favorite. It was fun, but I kind of know like the main twist of the book, so going back and rereading it, I'm not sure if it'll be as fun as my initial experience, maybe further down the road, but I can always do this on audiobook. So it was fun, but for right now, we're just going to unhaul it. Next couple of books that I'm going to unhaul, I just really didn't like these books. Black Mouth by Ronald Malfi. This was included in my most disappointing video of 2024. This book was very disappointing. I gave it 2.5 stars. It was, recommended to me because, it was considered to be like it. But the comparisons to that, I believe it's not even a diet version of it. It's just kind of a bad version of it. And the antagonist in here, I really didn't get along with. It just was very disappointing. I gave it 2.5 stars. No reason to hold that. And Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This book was just such a Debbie Downer. Like, I get why people would enjoy this book, but for me, it was just so depressing. I gave it 2.5 stars. I'm pretty much done with Christina Henry at this point, and there's no reason for me to keep it. I'm also going to unhaul Brain on Fire by Susanna Callahan, or Cahal. I can't pronounce her last name. But anyway, this is a nonfiction book about this woman named Susan who just all of a sudden starts having these weird brain anomalies, and like her mood just like suddenly changes, and like over the course of a few months or so, she's just like, it's intense what she goes through, and every doctor that she goes to can't really pinpoint what's wrong with her until finally she gets some help and is able to write about her journey. And just the stuff that she has to go through in this book is just really intense. It's a great book. I gave it 4 stars, but it's not one that I would ever go back and reread, so time to unhaul it. One book that I'm definitely going to get far, far away from my bookshelf is Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This book just sucked. And honestly, looking at Goodreads, I don't understand the hype for this book. I don't understand how anybody could just love this book. It has a lot of ratings. It has a lot of good ratings, like 4 and 5 stars. I gave this book 2 stars. The ending to this book made me mad. And yeah, just one of the worst books that I read in 2024. So getting the hell out of here. Another book I'm going to get rid of is The Latecomer by Jean Hoff Corlitz. Now, admittedly, this was a good book. I gave it 4 stars. I really like the structure of this book. It takes place kind of in multiple decades following this family's lives, and you're really following kind of the parents of these triplets, and then these triplets, and then the titular latecomer. They come into play later in the novel. Overall, pretty good book, 4 stars, but I'm never going to read it again, so time to chuck it. Another book that I really liked, but probably will never read again, is She's Too Pretty to Burn by Amber Heard. The main reason I wanted to read this book in the first place was because it was supposed to be sort of a loose retelling of my favorite classic novel of all time, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And it's very loose. Like, it kind of takes the very basic premise of it and just kind of rolls with it. I was hoping that this book would kind of be more like beat on beat, like a modern retelling of it, but it's really not. But anyway, the writing was really good. The characters were really good. I just didn't really enjoy where the plot went. It was pretty good, but I'm never going to read it again. And then there's Gingerbread by Helen Oyeyemi. I DNF'd this book very early on because it was just pure gobbledygook nonsense. And I DNF'd it and gonna get rid of it. I also DNF'd The Summer Tree by Guy Gabriel Kay. This is just kind of pure classic fantasy, which I don't really like that writing style, and I typically don't enjoy those kind of storytelling techniques that are used in classic fantasy. I know Guy Gabriel Kay's other books are supposed to be kind of more, I don't know how to describe them, but like low fantasy, low magic, very character developed, and I don't know. It's supposed to be nothing like this, so hopefully it's not. The Summer Tree was not for me. A lot of these books are DNFs that I'm just going to get rid of and not try again. Another one would be The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner. I picked this up because it's supposed to be about a woman in a woman's prison, and I thought it would kind of be like Orange is the New Black kind of vibes. But I DNF'd this book very early on, like 30, 40 pages. The writing style was just very confusing. It was hard to tell what was going on, when it was going on, and why. Just why. I did not like the writing style, so I quickly DNF'd it and have no longer any use for it. This next book I did really enjoy, and maybe I would keep, but it is a hardcover. And that would be No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. She is quickly becoming one of my favorite thriller authors. I've read a few books by her in 2024, including What Lies in the Woods, which was also great. This one was also pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. Main reason I'm going to chuck it is because it's a hardcover. I typically love paperbacks, so no real reason to keep this one. Another book that I DNF'd was Perfume, the story of a murderer. This is written in the 80s, but definitely has that classic writing style to it. And this book just kind of frustrated me because this author would focus on just this character who just has this amazing ability to smell. Like everything, like he has such a strong sense of smell, and there's just like chapters and pages upon pages of what he can smell, like what his favorite smells are, like what smells he wants to smell. And then you get to like a 2-paragraph thing where he's just kind of like, oh yeah, I killed a woman. And then just kind of glances over that and then jumps into another thing with another person. I'm just like, this is just not what I want. So yeah, I DNF'd it and probably won't try it again. I also DNF'd this book, The Girl Who Stopped Swimming by Jocelyn Jackson. This is the same author as Mother May I, another thriller that I really enjoyed. This one I did not know was more of a chick lit book, which was surprising because in the first chapter we get this woman who we know can see ghosts, and this woman sees the ghost of this girl, and then she goes back into her backyard and that girl is dead in her swimming pool. You're just like, well, that's a hell of an opening chapter. But then the next few chapters after that is just chicklet nonsense about just relationships and rumors and gossip. Like, I don't care about that. Get to the... very disappointing. My most recent DNF was The Bat by Joe Nesbo, which is the first book in the Harry Hole thriller. And yes, you are reading that correctly. This guy named his character Harry Hole. And I know it's a Nordic thing, so it's probably like Harry Hole or something, but I still think it's funny. That's kind of the best part of this book, honestly, is that guy's name. This book just really didn't have anything going for it. The mystery aspect wasn't there. The characters weren't there. it just was very dull and I didn't care. So I'm going to get rid of it. God, did I DNF all of these? Well, not all of them, but I DNF'd a lot of them. One book would be Winter's Bone by Daniel Woodrell. The main reason I picked this book up is because I know it was a Jennifer Lawrence movie, and I thought if I liked this book, I could go check out the movie. But this book was very boring. I didn't really like the writing style. I didn't get along with any of the characters. So, like with a lot of these, I DNF'd it pretty quickly and gonna chuck it. I also DNF'd The House in the Pines by Anna Reyes. And this was just a random thriller that I picked up randomly. The premise was pretty cool. It's about a woman who had a friend years ago who was with this guy, and that woman all of a sudden just dies, and the doctors have no idea how she died. They kind of just labeled it as a random death. And then, and the woman, the main protagonist, is like fixated on that. And then years later, this other woman is with that same man, and she randomly dies, and the doctors have no idea how she died. So now she's like, okay, I gotta figure out what's going on. So that was a pretty cool premise, but the writing style and the way that it's told, is nonsensical. And the Goodreads rating for this kind of reflects that. It's very low. A lot of people did not like this book, and neither did I. So I'm going to get rid of it, and somebody will pick it up and probably dislike it as much as I did, unfortunately. Another book that I DNF'd was Nosferatu by Joe Hill. And I picked this up because of Patreon. Kate Coy, this was her original pick in December. But as it turns out, I was not the only person to DNF this book. A couple of other people did. And then once Kate kind of realized that people were getting along with this book, she was like, you know what? I'm not going to read it either. And rightfully so, because this book, Joe Hill, if you don't know, is Stephen King's son. But the apple in this case fell very far from the tree because Joe Hill is just not on the same level as his father. I just did not get along with this book. And really, every other Joe Hill book that I've tried, I've either liked it just fine or I really didn't get along with it. So Joe Hill is just not the writer for me. And to end the video, I also have 2 Robert Jackson Bennett standalones. One of them I've read and one of them I haven't read. I read The Company Man, which was fine. I gave it 3 stars. And it's just not a book that I'm ever going to reread again. Honestly, I finished this book last month, and I hardly remember a thing about it. I also read Mr. Shivers, which I don't own physically. I DNF'd that book, which makes me not really want to try this other standalone I have called The Troop. You know, I gave one of them 3 stars, kind of generously, and then I DNF'd the other one. Probably not a good sign for this book, so I'm just not even going to try it. I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay, so that is my giant unhaul here. All of the books that me and Stacy are going to collectively get rid of, bring to Second and Charles, hopefully get a bunch of store credit. And yeah, and we've already got store credit there and a $40 gift card. So chances are we're going to have a very big book haul. And Stacy has, I think, $50 in Barnes & Noble gift cards. So yeah, we're going to have a fun book haul for y'all. Either on my channel or her channel. But yeah, there's a lot of books here. I'm going to get a shot of this at the end. But yeah, that's all my book on hauls. Let me know what your thoughts are any of these books. Do you agree with me in that these books aren't the best? Or, you know, some of these books I do like, by the way. You know, a lot of these books were DNFs or books that I didn't enjoy. But some of these books I liked. So let me know if you agree with some of these picks that you don't like, or if you completely disagree with me and you think one of these books is awesome and I'm an idiot. Comment down below your thoughts down below. And of course, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Continue to subscribe to the Bookish Drummer and the Bookish Drummer Discord, where we've got a ton of buddy reads and read-alongs happening in the new year, 2025. Bunch of stuff happening, of course. I've also got my Patreon link down below where you can support me there for as little as $1 a month. And my Amazon wish list if you want to buy me some books. Definitely don't have to, though, because me and Stacy are about to go on a big-ass book haul. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.